Crystal Prep was a strict school. You got to class on time, you were in bed on time, and you did everything right the first time. Principal Cinch, known for her old-fashioned techniques, was a punish her first, ask question later sort of principal. However, she did get results. Grades never slipped below a 90 average, and the school was one of the most top-rated out there. Sure, most of the students hated one another for different reasons, or run ragged through their classes, being forced to study well into the night to keep up their grades, but damn it, if anyone who got out alive didn't do something worthwhile with their lives, the result of graduating this place was the world on a platter. Twilight had no trouble with grades. The clubs she were in were small but interesting, and the electives she took had a far past the high school education level. It was the social stuff she had issues with, but to be fair, everyone hated each other to begin with. Sometimes it had to do with family issues, divorce here, half-sibling there. Sometimes it was parental occupation. There were more than a few times the kids whose parents was a police officer got chased around by a kid whose parent was in prison. But whatever the issue was, friends at Crystal Prep were hard to get. And once you had them, you held on tight. Twilight didn't have any friends at Crystal Prep. Well, she had a few acquaintances, but when push came to shove, they didn't pick your back. They did help out in small ways though. When the video came out, and Twilight was the laughingstock on campus, Moondancer stepped up and brought her some food from the cafeteria so she could hide in her room. Fleur-de-lis, a perfect, who could be a bit moody at times, but was pretty nice otherwise, was like the school's martial law. Whenever she was around, the other kids either stopped teasing her, or found out why Fleur was the fencing champion of the state. Lemon-Zest tried to help Twilight take her mind off and watched movies with her up until late, but these only had minimal effects. Twilight sat back on the couch in her dorm an hour before her first Monday class. She looked over her computer as she pulled up her messaging system. With the other girls likely at school, there was nothing new to note, but she could see a few she had gotten last night. Word spread quickly about the apple disaster, and it was funny with all the different reactions it got. There was some concern, but for the most part, they just joked around a little, such as how Pinkie requested a few of the apples for her Valentine's Day party next year. Applejack had responded with a simple, "No way." The dorm door rattled as it opened, and Twilight looked up to see Lemon-Zest walking in, her duffel bag under her arm, with her violin case in her hand. Her uniform top was wrinkled, and her hair was getting in her face, headphones around her neck. "Hey, Lemon-Zest," Twilight greeted. "Are you just getting in? You didn't miss the bus, did you?" Lemon grunted and dropped her duffel on the ground. "Hey, Twilight," she said easily. "Yeah, plane just got back in this morning. Has a freaking recital concert this weekend." "Oh, right," Twilight smiled. "Did it go well?" "Ah!" Lemon-Zest moaned, making a face and scalding. Twilight winced. "Did you lose?" Lemon sighed before dropping her violin case hazardly on the floor. "Oh no, I won first. Just hate this stupid thing." She slumped onto the couch beside her roommate, rubbing her face with her hands. "Give me a guitar. Hell, I'd play the banjo. Anything to get away from that." Near the end, her voice turned venomous, pointing to the violin case like it was the devil incarnate. "Oh," Twilight blinked in surprise. She knew Lemon wasn't a fan of her instrument, she just didn't know she hated it so much. "Well, why not play guitar then?" "Can't," Lemon-Zest grunted. "My dad says it's not the real instrument," mocking her father's words before puffing unhappily. One of the bedroom doors opened, and Moondancer stepped out, holding her upbeat cup of morning tea. She had her sick-rimmed glasses on, and unlike her classmate, she wore her school's winter uniform, no matter the season. She spotted the two on the couch as he went for the kitchen. "Oh, you're back. Sup, Moony?" Lemon-Zest smiled. Moondancer raised a brow at the nickname, disinterestedly, only to yelp when she tripped over something and jumped to the floor. "Oh my gosh, Moondancer!" Twilight gasped as she and Lemon-Zest stood up, waiting to see if their roommate needed help. The girl rightened her glasses, glaring down at what tripped her. "Don't just leave your junk where you please. You broke my mug!" "Sorry, Moony." Lemon-Zest paused when the fallen girl glared at her. Moondancer. "Sorry will not fix my favorite mug." Moondancer frowned, looking at the broken ceramic. She managed to stand wincing a bit and looked down again. "Oh god, I landed on your damn violin case. Why did you put this here? I could have dislodged my vertebrae." "My violin? Did it break?" Lemon-Zest asked, with an ill-concealed hope. Moondancer blinked before opening the case under her. "No." "Oh, come on!" After helping clean up the mess that had once been Moondancer's mug, the three parted ways for their first class of the day. In the hallways, it was a profitable madhouse as the kids tried to slip past each other to get their things, see friends, or go to class. While they tried to stick to the quieter halls if she could, Twilight's first class was calculus, which was right in the middle of the busiest hall of school. She took a breath before pushing through the crowd. Getting a few dirty looks, she tried to avoid touching anyone, grimacing when she did, the person in question glowering as she passed. At the first chance she got, Twilight zipped into the door, settling down at her seat closest to the teacher's desk, where she was less likely to be bothered. The last few students trickled in somewhat lethargically. The first day of the week had that effect on people. And when the bell rang, their teacher shut the door. "Alrighty, class. Today we're starting a new chapter in your textbook," he said, writing on the blackboard. "Turn to page 403, the integral calculus of Manfoiled." Most of the class groaned, a few rubbing their faces tiredly. Twilight, excitedly, pulled out a pencil. What followed was an hour and 30 minutes of intense lecture and practice equations. As usual, Twilight found these classes a breeze, so when the bell rang, she skipped from the door with a beat in her step, her classmates following like stumbling shells of teenagers. Such a wonderful way to start the week! A little challenge. Twilight paused at the drinking fountains to get her bearings. She had English next. It was across the quad in the literature building. She went out the usual door, dodging a group of older classmates, and out into the open air. The quad was a beautiful open park area between the main buildings of Crystal Prep, where all the classes were held. The grassy area was surrounded by oak trees, which were old, perhaps even older than the school itself, and had beautiful gardens surrounded by a large fountain. Sadly, for such a calm, natural place, it was unusually packed with students, and on a sunny day like this, it was no different. Students were seated in the shade and on benches, chatting and laughing and studying. The quad was fit to burst, as it always was this time of day, and Twilight knew trying to traverse the battlefield of teenage antics would likely have her fishing for quarters at the bottom of the fountain. Thankfully, Twilight had been going to the school for quite a long time, so she knew there was a way around the chaos. She darted towards the Art and Physical Education building, knowing there was a never-used path behind it that cut across the school. It was old and not very well maintained. In fact, it was almost like a tunnel with how the stone walls of the building was on the side and the tall stone fence was on the other. The fence was used to block off the woodlands behind the school. Students rumored it was because monsters used to hide out there to pick off kids, but Twilight had read the school's history book and found that it was erected mostly because students would sneak off to make out in the trees. Nowadays, everybody just used the private study rooms. However, Twilight knew why this path wasn't the most used. It had a creepy vibe to it. The building looming overhead, how it had become unnaturally quiet, how cold and dark it was. Twilight knew it was safe though, so she didn't hesitate to round the corner and keep walking. Eventually, she tried to remember what was going to happen in English today. She believed there was a test, followed by a book report handout. She clapped her hands excitedly, the sound echoing. As she hurried down the path, she was halfway behind the building when something clanged. Twilight froze, looking around quickly. There was no one around. Both sides of the opening were clear. Another clatter made Twilight jump, and she realized where the noise was coming from. She looked to the stone fence warily. Somebody was jumping on the dumpster behind the wall. "Hello?" Twilight frowned. There was more clanging and banging. The sounds of claws skidded on metal. Twilight took a few uncertain steps back. Was there a wild animal rooting around the trash? Suddenly, there was a clang from something large, empty, and metal, making Twilight jolt. Then another something poked its head up over the top of the wall. Twilight squinted, not being able to make out what it was, as the morning sun was directly behind it. Definitely an animal, pointed ears twitched as it looked down at her, and Twilight could make out the glinting of its size. Suddenly, it lifted itself over the wall, jumping down towards her. "Ah!" Twilight yelped, doubling back defensively until it landed in front of her. "Twilight!" Pinky? She gasped. The pink wolf bounded around her excitedly, tail wagging. "Oh, I knew I smelt you, Twilight. I found you, Pinky barked. I win, I'm the best smeller!" Wait, hold on, Twilight managed to get out as she kept an eye on her quadruped friend. What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in school? I mean, it's Monday. Well, Pinky started, pausing to think. Normally I would be at school on Monday, but you see, one of my sisters just broke up with her meanie bee boyfriend. So, Papa Pie decided to pull us out of school today for a pack exercise. Help take her mind off it. Pack exercise? Oh yeah, Pinky nodded. That's just a fancy way of saying mini family holiday. Pinky smiled, panting a bit. We did it all the time as kids. Basically, we go to a random wooded area and have little challenges. Today, it's a hunting race. First one back with the biggest kill wins! Pinky spun around in a circle, clearly excited. So, I was out in the woods, looking for things to hunt, when I smelt you. I mean, I didn't expect to, so when I did, I was like, oh, what's Twilight doing out in the woods? Then I saw the school and could smell all the people, so I thought I'd come in and say hi. The wolf paused to pod closer, smiling again. So, hi! Yes, hi, Twilight blinked. So, what is this place? Pinky asked, looking around a bit. Smells like a lot of humans. This is Crystal Prep, Pinky. You know, human private school? That makes sense, Pinky barked. This place looks way older than my school. Plus, it's bigger. My school's all, She put her paws together in the air, showing the minimalist of her school. And she was like, whoa! She then held her paws out, showing the size difference between them. Of course, my school's in the middle of mid-Canterlot, huh? Middle's Canterlot. That's funny to say. Oh, imagine if you were in the middle of the school. Then you would be in the middle Canterlot. Pinky? Twilight said quickly, putting a hand to the wolf's shoulder. It's, not that I'm not happy to see you. I'm glad to see you too, Twilight, Pinky smiled. Yes. Well, it's just... Twilight circled her free hand in the air, trying to think of what to say. This is, private school. Yeah, just for humans, right? Pinky added, still smiling. Well, yes, thank you. It's just that if they find you here, not that you mean anything bad, of course, it's just, well, they might not, Twilight started to see the struggle, and Pinky's confused expression wasn't helping. Well, they may not react so... How so? Oh, you remember what happened to Sunset? Twilight trailed off. Not that they might not do anything bad to you, it's just... Oh, you mean humans might get scared and then try to hunt me down, and no matter how the situation works out, there could be an interspecies conflict incident that could result in war between our kinds? Pinky sounded cheerful throughout the explanation. Twilight blinked. Yes, I mean, maybe not a war, but say no more. I'd just be back to my hunt and on my way. Pinky smiled and turned to leave. Twilight sighed and wiped her brow. Phew, oh good. I didn't want either of us getting into trouble, and I can't. What? Twilight yelped, looking up at the wolf wildly. Said wolf just pointed to the stone wall. Nothing to climb on to get out of this side, Pinky explained with a carefree shrug. I'm stuck. Twilight threw her hands up to hold her head in panic. Oh, no. She started to pace a bit. Oh God, how are we going to get out of here? If they catch you, nothing good will come of it, even if you don't mean any harm. Both of the girls jumped when a bell rang in the air. Twilight groaned when it ended. And now I'm tardy, Twilight gasped. Oh, don't worry, Twilight, Pinky said easily. We'll be fine. Besides, if we can get out of here and go back to my family's picnic, then we can have some tar-teas. Oh my God, why? She took a few deep breaths before speaking again. Okay, pull it together. Come on, Sparkle, we can do this. I mean, how hard is it to get a pink wolf through a high security location? Yeah. Twilight stared into space. Oh, don't worry, Twilight. I can just change into my human form. Easy peasy. Huh? Oh, yes, you can do that. Maybe this won't be as difficult as I thought. She printed off when Pinky finished shifting. Pinky smiled back, not saying anything wrong, her wolf tail wagging the back of her skirt and her wolf ears twitching out of her hair. Can you change back? Twilight huffed as she led Pinky along the side of the building, holding a hand to the back of the wolf's head. She figured it would be easier to explain what appeared to be a giant canine to people, rather than a girl with real animal ears and a working tail. That would be a dead giveaway. At least Pinky looked like a rather large husky when she was in her wolf form. What's that? Pinky asked excitedly. Twilight stifled a groan. At least she didn't look like a dog when she didn't talk. It's a statue of the founder from out front. They brought it back here for repairs because this is the art building, Twilight whisper shouted. Pinky, remember, you can't talk. Yeah, I know. Don't worry though. You won't hear a peep out of me, Pinky smiled. Not a yelp or a squeak or a yip or a... Oh, this doesn't bode well. Twilight paused at the end of the building, looking out around the corner to the quad. It was much emptier than before. A few stragglers were running for their classes, and a few who had spares were seated out in the sun, reading or studying. A group of boys were tossing around a frisbee. Ooh, that looks fun, Pinky commented, her head sticking around to the corner. Twilight winced each time Pinky's tail jackhammered her in the side. Can we play? No, Pinky, please! Twilight frowned desperately. Listen, there are a lot of rules at Crystal Prep. Not all of them are written, but they are followed. There are a few things not allowed on campus. First on that long list is monsters. Then pets. Twilight put a hand to her head. And technically, I'm breaking both right now. And you're skipping, Pinky added unhelpfully. Yes, that is also a factor here, Twilight groaned. That's not to mention what they could do to you. Do you want to be stepped up on a wall in the library? We have a hunting club here. Ooh, do you mean stuff like lots of delicious food? Pinky paused when Twilight looked down at her, scolding and very desperate. The wolf looked away dejectedly. Oh, yeah, no, I know what you mean. Listen, we just need to go around to the back of the literature building, then follow that to the cafeteria. They have some dumpsters back there you can climb on and get out, Twilight explained. Then, you're in the clear. Sounds like a plan, Pinky nodded. As quickly as Twilight could lead the wolf across the open area towards the next building, it was less than 20 feet. However, there were still a few people running around that could see them. Pinky was more agile than her human companion and beat her to the next building easily. As she waited for Twilight to catch her breath and take a hit of her inhaler, there was a shrill voice. Hey! Twilight practically inhaled the entire puffer in fright, choking a bit. She turned to see two underclassmen walking up to them from a quad. Is that a dog? The yellow-haired girl asked excitedly. Dog? What dog? Twilight tried poorly to hide Pinky behind her. I don't have a dog. I never even met a dog. Both girls giggled, a little amused. We won't tell, the green-haired one smiled. We just love dogs a lot. Can we pet it? Given that Pinky was a sapient being, Twilight worried for a moment the girl might be a little insulted by the question. Instead, Pinky sped out from behind her to bathe in the shower of affection. She panted happily as both girls pet her head. So cute, the green-haired one commented, scratching Pinky's ear in a way that the wolf seemed to melt into. Aw, what a friendly girl, the yellow one cooed, Pinky's tail going a mile a minute. Is she yours? Yes. I mean, Twilight trailed off. She's, pet-sitting her. Yes, that's it. She shuffled nervously. She, followed me to school, so I'm trying to get her home before I get into trouble. Speaking of, we need to get going. Aww, the girls moaned, disappointed, Pinky echoing the look on their faces. Well, I guess we don't want to get you in trouble. Thanks for letting us pet your dog, the yellow-haired girl smiled, giving Pinky one last pat. Bye, guys. The two walked back to the quad. Twilight held her breath until the two disappeared inside one of the buildings, groaning a bit and holding onto the wall for support. They were nice. Are they some of your friends? Pinky asked, tongue lolling out to the side of her mouth. No, they like dogs because I've never seen them before now, Twilight sighed. Well, of course everyone likes dogs. Every time I see one, I'm just like, hey, it's a cute dog! Woof woof, Pinky spoke. Like this one time at the park, are you okay with them just treating you like a dog like that? Twilight asked, a little overwhelmed by the situation and just wanting to stop Pinky's rambling. Of course not. It's not the first time that's happened, Pinky nodded. I just see it as people being friendly. Plus, sometimes you get treats, like they'll make their own gravy. Ugh. Pinky started to drool a bit. Yummy. Twilight shook her head, a little amused by the response. Do you find people friendlier when you're a dog? Kinda. I mean, there is good in everyone. Sometimes you just need to be a dog and it comes right out. Pinky thought for a moment. Of course, I find the same thing works as a person. Act friendly and people seem to respond to it. Twilight rightened her glasses on her nose. Is that how you do everything? Yepers! If you have a good mood, then most people try to have one too. They're infectious, in a good way. I don't think I've ever heard of something being infectious in a good way, Twilight chuckled a bit. See? Right there! You're happy now too, just like me! Infectious! Pinky barked, tail wagging. Twilight paused for a moment, dumbfounded, before laughing. Yes, I suppose I am. You should write a book, Pinky. Ooh, I never tried writing a book. That could be fun. I'll try it out when I get home, Pinky said, with a smile on her muzzle. Home. Oh, all right. Twilight looked around nervously, but they were thankfully still not seen. We need to get you going before someone sees us, Twilight continued on, Pinky wandering after her. Just around the corner here, and then it's straight to the cafe. Twilight ran around the corner and found the very last group of people she ever wanted to see. Standing by an AC unit and smoking a cigarette was Kamikaze, a red-skinned girl with orange and red hair. All her friends had frozen in place when Twilight came upon them, looking at their smokes nervously. However, Kamikaze just took another leisurely drag, looking Twilight up and down in amusement. Well, look who it is, she said, blowing a cloud of fumes into the air. Twilight opened and closed her mouth wordlessly. Twilight fucking Sparkle. What a pleasant surprise, Kamikaze smirked, stepping out of her group towards Twilight slowly. You've been weaseling your way out of my sight so much, I don't think we've talked in ages. As Kamikaze got closer, Twilight started to back away, ducking her head a bit, eyes wide behind her glasses. Kami, she won't tell, right? One of the girls by the AC unit asked nervously, all of them putting out their cigarettes. My mom would kill me if she won't, Kamikaze practically shouted, shutting everyone up and stopping all the movement. The red-skinned girl grimaced for a moment, eyes twitching, before she let out a small amount of unsettling laughter. Oh, she won't tell. Will you, Twilight? The bully shot Twilight a piercing gaze, one that ripped through her and left her quivering in fear. No, Twilight whimpered. Of course she won't, Kamikaze smiled, taking another breath of her cigarette. I don't think you have the guts to do anything worthwhile on your own, do you? Kamikaze tilted her head, grinning. You can't even say a word to save your own worthless hide, can you? Twilight swallowed. The orange and red-haired girl suddenly bolted up to her seat, sending Twilight stumbling away into a wall of the building. Kamikaze chuckled as she flicked her smoke in her hand to dispel any ashes on her end. She kept getting closer and closer. I know you won't ever tell, Twilight. I know, because you know what I'm like. The bully made a mock face of worry. I mean, even after all this time apart, you still remember how I can get, right? When I'm unhappy or bored. Twilight nodded her head wildly. I don't know if you do, Twi, Kamikaze said, still getting closer. I mean, you still don't even know how to lick my shoes when we meet up like this. All those lessons I gave you, for not? Twilight's eyes flickered down to the girl's soccer cleats unhappily, frowning deeply at the mud-covered footwear. Of course she had practice this morning. She looked nervously back up at the girl, hoping she could get out of this without doing that again. Suddenly, Kamikaze snatched Twilight's glasses from her face. Twilight yelped, squinting at the blurry girl in front of her fearfully. Now that she was practically helpless before her, there was no telling what Kamikaze would do. I think I need to remind you how much respect I deserve, Twilight, Kamikaze said lowly. Twilight flinched when she felt heat near the side of her face. She quickly realized it was the girl's cigarette. Kamikaze was slowly bringing it to level with Twilight's eyes. She tried to lean away, but Kamikaze shot her arm out, bracing it on the wall and keeping Twilight in place. Twilight could only seem to curl up and clench her eyes shut, fearing the heat getting closer and closer and Whoa! One of Kamikaze's friends gasped, and Twilight felt the heat disappear. She looked up to a blurry pink blob between her and Kamikaze. Pinky was snarling, fur raised, and tail curled angrily. Twilight couldn't make anything else out. What do we have here? Kamikaze asked, not sounding fearful in the slightest. I thought you only had one ugly dog. Twilight stammered, chest feeling tight. Kami, that thing is huge. Let's just get out of here. Sparkle won't tell, one of Kamikaze's friends said urgently, and sounding scared. Yeah, she's a big pussy, like you said. Let's just go back to our dorms. I'm not afraid of this pink fair prize, Kamikaze snorted.
What do you say, puppy? You want to dance with me? The girl sounded crazy and gleeful at the thought of fighting this extra-large canine.
Kami, it's not worth it. She won't tell now that we know she brought a dog on campus. Come on, we'll watch those Saw films you like. I've already watched them enough this week, Kamikaze huffed. What about that Centipede movie? Another offered. Oh, God, I don't want to see that again. Creepy as hell. Shh. The same girl as before hushed them others violently. Kamikaze hummed for a moment, ignoring the snarling animal before her. Alright, I guess. But we're watching the uncensored version, though. Okay, let's go, the girl said, and Twilight could hear them walking over Pinky's growling. Kamikaze, however, stayed behind a moment longer. See you around, Twi. Maybe next time we can try and make a sequel video. I know your fans have been asking for one. Kamikaze laughed cruelly before she followed after the others. Twilight found it hard to stay standing, so she slid to the ground, wheezing a bit and rubbing at her eyes. That was close. Kamikaze never tried to burn her before. Every moment with that girl took a year off her life. Twilight panted a bit before realizing she needed to use her inhaler again. She reached into her bag for it. Then, something wet poked her arm, and Twilight jumped, her puffer flying off in another direction. "Roar," Pinky said around something, dropping an object in her lap. "I'll get it." The wolf wandered off, and Twilight plucked the offering from her lap, finding it to be her glasses, though a bit more slobbery covered than before. She wiped them off, still huffing and puffing, when Pinky came back with her inhaler. Thanks, Twilight wheezed before she took a few hits. The wolf sat beside her quietly until she had finished and put it away. Twilight tried to avoid her gaze. Who was that? Pinky asked. Kamikaze, Twilight mumbled. She's kinda crazy. Does that happen a lot? Pinky frowned. Twilight looked away, face scrunching a bit before she huffed, getting to her feet. We should keep moving. We're close to the cafeteria now, Twilight said simply, leading the wolf down the walkway once more. She didn't look back, but she knew Pinky took a minute to follow. The more subdued pair walked around the literature building to a small gap they needed to cross before the cafeteria. They paused when the clock tower sang out a short tune, echoing a soft song as the hour turned 11 o'clock. Guess I missed my test, Twilight sighed, checking the opening. Thankfully, this area of the school was much quieter. From here, Twilight could see the dumpster set up against the outer wall. Hopefully, that would be tall enough. There was a cluttering noise, and Twilight looked over, almost groaning in aggravation. It was Lemon Zest, buying a drink from the vending machine. While the cafeteria did have an eating space behind it near the dumpster, not many people used it due to the smell. However, the vending machines were set here for easy refilling. Lemon Zest took a swig of her energy drink before looking over to Twilight, seemingly still jet-lagged. She smiled tiredly and waved, but paused upon noticing Pinky. Twilight heard Pinky let out a soft growl, so the human girl shushed her before approaching her roommate.
Sup, Twilight? You kinda got a dog following you, Lemon said, pointing down to Pinky.
Yeah, she followed me home. Pet sitting for somebody, Twilight said back, just as exhausted. I just want to get her over the wall and she'll know the way home. Oh, cool! I was going to say if you had her in the room this morning I didn't notice. Then I must be really sleep deprived, Lemon chuckled softly, reaching out to pet the wolf. Pinky seemed suspicious this time around, and after Kamikaze, who could blame her? But allowed Lemon Zest to pet her a moment, then she returned to her usual happy self with just a few ruffles. Lemon smiled when Pinky leaned into her touch. Aw, what a nice little pup. I wish I could pet sit a dog, especially one as nice as you. Twilight was pretty sure that if you could see through Pinky's fur, she'd be blushing. Yeah, she's pretty amazing, Twilight admitted, watching the wolf look back to her happily. Twilight smiled back before blinking and turning to Lemon. You want a pet dog? I wish I could. Pet anything would be nice, but my dad said they just make a mess. Lemon sighed. My dad used to have a tropical fish in the house, but after my parents split up, he got rid of them. Said they reminded him of her. Lemon shook her head to dispel some thoughts. Anyway, what's her name? Pinky, Twilight said, without really thinking. Lemon leaned back a bit to study the dog before her. Not a very imaginative, but accurate, she laughed, pausing when Pinky raised an eyebrow. Wow, that's really human-like. She's, a very smart dog, Twilight said, scratching the back of her neck nervously. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Pinky. You have a really nice name, Lemon said, with a nod to the dog below her. She smiled even larger when Pinky went back to her dog-like smile, tail wagging. Aw, and so cute! Lemon took another sip of her drink before she knelt down, scratching the side of Pinky's neck, much to the wolf's delight. Aren't you cute? Yes, you are! Pinky panted happily, and Twilight couldn't help but smile, shaking her head. Oh, you're so precious, Lemon said excitedly. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Me! I am! Pinky barked, getting up on all fours energetically. The two humans froze, Twilight's smile dropping in a matter of seconds. Pinky seemed to realize her mistake after a few seconds as she stopped panting to look between the humans uncertainly. Twilight couldn't see Lemon's face as the girl wasn't facing her. Yet, the green-haired girl stood up, taking her drink with her. When she did turn to face Twilight, she hadn't lost that smile of hers. Lemon studied the can of energy drink in her hand, then, promptly, turned it over, spilling its contents onto the ground. She waited until it had emptied before holding it in her hands, and promptly tossing it in the trash. Twilight, Lemon said softly. Yes, Lemon? I'm gonna go see the nurse, Lemon said, face finally melting into a look of confusion and slight concern. She put a hand to her head. I think I may be more tired than I thought. I'm hearing shit, man. Okay, Twilight said. See you later tonight. Hopefully, Lemon muttered before slipping into the cafeteria. Twilight sighed a bit, figuring she'd make it up to Lemon later. She just had to deprive Crazy a bit longer. Was that a friend of yours? Pinky asked again. More of an acquaintance, Twilight said with a huff. Seems like she wants to be your friend to me, Pinky stated. Twilight blinked, turning to the wolf in confusion. Well, what do you mean? Well, she did start talking about how her parents split up, and she seemed kind of sad about that. People don't normally talk about that unless they're comfortable with the other person, Pinky said, shrugging the best she could in her form. She seems like she's trying to be open with you. I never really thought about that, Twilight frowned, looking back at the door Lemon had left out of. In fact, the more Twilight thought about it, the more she realized that Lemon did a lot for her. This morning she had talked about how her father made her play violin despite her hatred of it. Maybe Lemon really was trying to open up to her, and Twilight had been accidentally rebuking her offers. Maybe all those times Lemon had plopped her headphones on her head at full blast hadn't been to bother her, but was Lemon's way of trying to share her love of music? Or maybe she was reading too much into this. Twilight sighed, rightened her glasses. At any rate, she should do what she came here to do. We should get you back to your family, Twilight said, gesturing to the dumpster. The wolf ran over to them, sniffing around.
Wow, you guys got pancakes? We never get pancakes at our school.
Pinky spoke, still circling the dumpster. I can smell the syrup. Yeah, they serve up breakfast, lunch, and dinner here, Twilight explained. Ooh, yesterday you had sloppy joes. Pinky, maybe you should stop sniffing around there, Twilight said uneasily. It's a little unsanitary. The wolf stopped a moment to look back at Twilight, unimpressed. Twilight could only chuckle back. Then, a howling filled the air. Ooh! Pinky's ears perked, and she looked around wildly before starting to holler herself. Ow! Twilight was startled by the action, but ran over trying to shake the pink wolf to his senses. Pinky, stop! Someone will hear you! Pinky did stop, looking to Twilight in confusion. Well, yeah, my family is looking for me. That's why they're hollowing. When I haul back, they can find me. It's like Marco Polo, just no pool. Twilight ran a hand down her face tiredly. Pinkamena Diane Pie! A voice roared from the other side of the wall.
Pinky jolted and looked over the wall.
Twilight, though a little frightened by the deep, angry voice, looked down the stone wall. Whoa! A huge brown wolf stood at the base of the wall, staring back sternly, ears pinned back. He seemed to be graying in places and had a lot of tufts of fur around his muzzle, indicating some kind of breed. He was so large that, Twilight guesstimated, if she had been standing next to him, he would be taller than her on all fours. What in the world do you think you're doing? He snapped, baring his fangs a bit. Visiting my friend Twilight, Pinky smiled back, pointing to the human beside her. This is Twilight. Twilight, this is my papa, Papa Pie. Pinky's father spared Twilight a glance, but he seemed more interested in his child at the moment. Pinkamena, you are not supposed to be in there, he growled. That is private property. Well, I didn't know that, Pinky whined, looking a bit coupled right now. How could I? Twilight took a moment to look back down, finding the stone wall littered with quite a few warning signs about that very thing. She looked back at Pinky with an unimpressed frown. Pinky's father seemed to share that feeling. Down. Now, he ordered bluntly. Aw, Pinky moaned, but hopped over the wall and onto the ground below. Honestly, I would think you have learned from your friend's misadventures, Pinky's father scolded, the pink wolf before him, whining, tail between her legs. I'm sorry, Pinky frowned. Hey, Dad, did you find her? Someone barked from the wood foliage. A grayish-purple wolf stepped out, frowning. There you are. Hey, Limestone, Pinky sighed. Hey yourself, you just wandered off on your own in the middle of a hunt. We're trying to cheer Marble up as a family, Limestone snarled, ears pinned. Or did you forget? I didn't forget. I just got, distracted, Pinky explained, looking sheepish. I smelt my friend Twilight and I wasn't expecting it. Limestone growled up at the human for only a second before scoffing. You went in there? Man, are you gonna get it? She smirked towards Pinky. You're gonna be grounded like forever. I'm not, Pinky frowned. I didn't mean to get stuck in there. Besides, Twilight helped me out. It wouldn't have happened if you had stuck with the pack like you're supposed to. Girls! The father barked, silencing them. Enough. Maud and Marble are back at the picnic with your mother. Head back and get some lunch. This will be discussed later. Limestone sent Pinky one last scowl before darting back into the woodlands. Pinky just shook her head before looking back up at Twilight. Bye, Twi. See you later. Bye, Pinky. Twilight nodded, waving, as the wolf followed after her sister.
Thank you, young one, for your assistance with my pup, Pinky's father said. She has a young mind and even worse paws. They have stirred up many a trouble before.
Oh, no problem. Happy to help, Twilight smiled. I mean, Pinky's so nice. Why wouldn't I? Vaguely, I agree. Pinkamena has her strong suits. However, she is quite wild when it comes down to it. Her father sighed, sounding exhausted. Now though, you must excuse me, for I must return to my pack. I bid you farewell, child. Bye, Twilight muttered, as the last wolf wandered off into the forest. Twilight sunk a bit in relief, happy that there hadn't been any incidents while Pinky was groveling around in here. Hey! Twilight jumped a bit, turning to see a lunch lady holding a bag of garbage. What are you doing here, kid? Don't you have class? Twilight stared at her, a little lost on what she meant, until she gasped. My test! Twilight moaned a bit as she walked the steps to her dorm room. Thanks to her excellent reputation of punctuality in the past, her English teacher had believed her when she said she had been held up. Though he still had her come back and write lines at the end of the school day, he did allow her to take the test, which she aced, of course. Going back to her room for a good night of homework and sleep sounded great right about now. However, when she got to her level, she spotted Moondancer sitting outside their room, having pulled an armchair out into the hall. She was scowling, reading a book quietly, and drinking tea out of a mug, which it seemed like Lemon bought her as a replacement for the broken one, as it read, "I'm addicted to the pot," with a coffee pot where the O in the pot was supposed to be. Twilight was betting Moondancer was sorry she only had the one mug before. As much as this mug wasn't in her taste, the only other mug in their dorms were also owned by Lemon, and they were even more comedic than this one. Moondancer? Twilight asked. Moondancer sighed, jetting her thumb to the dorm room door. Twilight frowned, leaning in a bit to listen. She heard a telltale soft rock music floating around inside. "Oh no, what happened?" she moaned. "Her dad called. That's all I know," Moondancer frowned, taking a sip of the tea. Lemon took the call in her room. I didn't hear anything they said. Then, Jefferson Airplane's hit song White Rabbit turned on. I think she's smoking, but she had the decency to blow it out the window. I can't stand the music, so I came out here. Why not go to the common room? Moondancer scoffed, turning a page. "It's game night down there. You know how sad that can be." Yep, it was pretty sad. The people who did show up pretty much begged others to play with them, so every Monday night, people avoided the common room like the plague. "I'm gonna go check on her," Twilight said, opening the door and slipping inside. "Whatever," Moondancer said as the door shut behind her. The song was one Twilight had heard many times with Lemon Zest as a roommate, David Bowie's When the Wind Blows. She stepped up to Lemon's door, knocking lightly on the wood. "It's open," Lemon said from inside. Twilight pushed open the door, and the music from Lemon's stereo got louder with the barrier gone. The lime pink girl was sitting on her dresser, leaning a bit out the window to blow some fall-smelling cigarette smoke into the night air. Twilight tried not to scrunch up her face as the smell hit her when she entered. "Lemon?" Twilight asked, walking in. Lemon looked to her, mildly surprised and tired. "Oh, hey," she responded, before taking a drag off what appeared to be a hand-rolled blunt. "What are you doing?" Twilight asked, concerned. "Blowing off steam," Lemon responded, exhaling out the window again. Lemon paused before giggling at the pun she had accidentally made. Twilight started to speak, but stopped herself, figuring Lemon wouldn't like being lectured on that and it wouldn't help. Instead, she walked a bit closer. "Moondancer said you got a call from your dad. Did something happen?" No, nothing. I'm just signed up for another violin practice this weekend. You know, like every other weekend. No biggie," Lemon groaned out, staring up at the starry sky. "Don't matter I have a big test next Monday either. I can just study on the plane home again." She sourly took another hit. Oh. Well, I couldn't do much about Lemon's father or violin playing, but... "What's the test on?" "Science," Lemon grumbled. "It's about electricity or some shit like that. I can help you study for that if you want," Twilight said quickly. Lemon looked up again, surprised once more. "You will?" Yeah, I know a bit about electricity. I made a solar panel last year. I can help you get ready," Twilight said. "Though maybe we should wait till tomorrow when you're more focused." Twilight winced slightly, pointing to the smoke in Lemon's hand. Lemon looked at it a bit before blinking. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea," she smiled back at Twilight. "Thanks." "No problem. So how about you put that out and we can watch a movie?" Twilight suggested. "Sup with you? You're not usually like this. I mean, you're nice, but usually you just stick to your own thing," Lemon frowned. "Let's just say I'm trying to be more upbeat lately, more sociable." "Okay," Lemon smiled. "What movie do you want?" "Lemon says!" a voice shouted from outside. Lemon scrambled a bit, looking down at the courtyard. "That better not be what I think it is in your hand." "Oh crap, it's perfect Fleur." "It's not, I swear," Lemon shouted back, putting the blunt out in a deaded pot plant on her windowsill. "I'm not doing anything." Fleur responded. Sounded like she didn't really believe her. "Well, you better shut that window and get back to your homework, young lady." "Yes, ma'am," Lemon grunted, pulling the window shut and getting off her dresser. "Man, I need a pick-me-up." "Finding Nemo?" Twilight suggested. "Finding Nemo. Look who's speaking my language," Lemon agreed. "I'll get some popcorn and let Mooney know she can come back in." Twilight chuckled a bit before heading after her. In the end, Moondancer joined them for the movie, and they all had a surprisingly good time. After it was over, and they had all retired to their rooms for the night, Twilight was brushing up on her electric science in preparation for tomorrow before checking her online messages. Ding! It dinged that she had some mail. Upon opening the message, Twilight found a very large file of poorly edited writing. It was a story about a walrus? A walrus named Kobe, who wanted to be a sumo wrestler? Looking further down, Twilight found a message to her. "Look, Twilight, I took your advice and wrote a book. It was so much fun. Let me know what you think. Yes, Thanks for helping me escape your school before possibly starting the downfall of society. From Pinky. Twilight chuckled a bit before looking back over the story. This friendship thing was going to be interesting.